Next, I'd like to invite up Kim Molinaro, who is a psychology professor at St. Petersburg College. She collaborates with colleagues and students to facilitate dynamic, mutually accountable learning environments. She was recognized for the 2018 Association of Florida Colleges Distinguished Faculty Award for her efforts in teaching and empowering students of today for the challenges of tomorrow. So once she's mic'd up, or come on up, let's welcome Kim.
So I want to start with this notion away from expense for a second, because we do offer our OER textbook derivative and our OER textbook. We have one of each that I was able to work with my colleagues on within a couple-year period. And I want to put expense away. They pay nothing. We built it in our LMS, and we worked from there. But I want to talk to you about really the why that occurred. So if you think about your student populations, you know that they have a variety of levels of academic preparedness. So I started talking to my students, and I started saying, what are your thoughts on the textbooks? We had used traditional textbooks at the time. Expense was, regardless of the level of academic preparedness, expense was number one. The second was readability. They had a readability concern about it. The words I heard from my students were overwhelmed. Written language I don't understand. I know I can't do it, so I just don't try. And then I had another group of students that said, I read the textbook, it's fine. They're the type of students that we could just stand there and they would learn because they have skills to do so. The students that I was really targeted toward, the students, I guess, that keep me up a bit at night sometimes, or that my heart goes out to, our academic standards stay the same. It doesn't matter the level of academic preparedness, the high standards of the course remain the same. So at some point you have to look at, are we doing enough with inputs to help everyone achieve those outputs? And so in a general education class, it's one of our college's highest volume class, general psychology, we decided to listen to our students work together as disciplined faculty. There were 7 of us. And we said, we're going to create an OER textbook derivative for general psychology. And then I developed a class around it. It was QM reviewed, it's aligned, and we moved forward from there. Then it went out into all online students. Then it went out into face-to-face and blended faculty. And the idea is that we took it, chunked it, and then we went in with awareness of our students, and we went in and edited in a way that made it accessible language-wise to build the academic language needed to be able to sit down and read a textbook written in high-level language consistent with the science of my field. So we've been at this for a couple years. It's not easy. Oh my. I think my husband looked at me a few times and said, what are you doing? And I said, I know, I just know. I would call our dean, who has mentored me throughout my career, and I would have a tendency to say, hey, I need to vent for a second, and I would talk about the rewriting process, the chunking process, piloting it, getting student feedback, knowing I needed to revise it. And I was like, this is a bit overwhelming, and he would just say, okay, I get it, but why are you doing this? And I was like, okay, fine, and I'll get you an update next week. And it just kind of went that way over and over again. And then when we were finished and it was piloted, used college-wide, the data is really encouraging. They're consistently doing better in this aligned course with our derivative textbook. And I don't know why I did this, but I have a psychology internship. I train students to work in a gel diversion program. There's no textbook about that. There's no open sources either. So I sat down with a blank page. And I thought, okay, let's do an internship manual, an internship textbook for this class. And I found that to be relatively easy. We built that again I built it in the LMS that time, because the instructional design technologist, Nancy Muntz, I can't say anything about her except for she's so profoundly patient, and I'm perfectionistic, so I really appreciated that. And she's so profoundly talented, and she was a part of our team. She taught me to use the technologies instead of doing it all alone. So she equipped me with the skills I needed to move forward and do it again. So I encourage you to really think through your why, because you'll need to hang on to that throughout this process. And when you start venturing away from your why, just return to it again and let a trusted colleague, Suzanne Preston, Anya Norman, I called them often and I said, I need you to remind me why I'm doing this. I'm overwhelmed a bit, or I'm worried a bit. And they just reminded me of the purpose that we have with our students. You know who they are. You know what they need. you now can have control over the words used and their content. So I encourage you to move through this process. It's been worthwhile and a learning curve. And sometimes faculty need to think in new ways. And this requires us to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to invite up a dynamic duo from UCF. Dr. Bruce Wilson is a professor of political science at the University of Central Florida, where he regularly teaches large online sections of American National Government, which is a GEP class. For 5 years, he served as co-editor of the American Political Science Association's Journal of Political Science Education. And with him is Jim Paradiso, an instructional designer and the program coordinator for textbook affordability at UCF. His instructional design role primarily focuses on adaptive learning, while his coordinator role looks at the many ways to reduce materials costs for students and to empower faculty to be open content creators and contributors. Let's welcome up Bruce and Jim.
First pushing up the stage. So I guess I'll hold up something. We're kind of a team. We have been since the beginning of this whole thing. As Wendy introduced, he's a faculty member, I'm a designer. So his dream was kind of made true via the tools and design approach that we took to make, I guess, it a seamless experience, because you can't necessarily just always take an open resource and apply it without having thought into the pedagogy in the way that you're going to deliver to students. So that's my role. I do want to let Bruce introduce it. I'll kind of come back at the end and let him tell the story.
Okay, my name is Bruce Wilson. I'm a professor of political science, not actually humanities, and social scientists. People get some kind of umbrage about things like that. But I understand why the lump together like that. So I'm actually an OER agnostic, so I'm going to be expecting rocks to be thrown here. But I'm an enthusiastic agnostic, I should say. And what the presentation we'll do later on is attempting to do is to detail why we moved along this path, like why we moved away from a commercial publisher to an open source one, it's the OpenStax one from Rice University, and what drove that decision and our experience. So I teach the large American National Government class. We have, right now I have 200 students, and sometimes it's as high as, the highest has been is 400 and something, completely online. So we have been able to use this in a way. What we'll try to do is explain how we use the work. And what we try to do is to do it like in baby steps. So the first step was to understand why we moved in this direction, why we wanted to use this type of book and not a commercial book, and then how we integrated it into the class. I'm more than willing and happy to talk about the experience that we had with that. I buy a lot of the arguments about affordability, accessibility. The part I'm less clued up on, because I do and have previously edited a book, like a journal on scholarship of teaching and learning in political science, is the actual impact of this in student learning. The other part, student access, isn't quite clear. Affordability also quite clear, but probably not as clear as it's made out. That, you know, a lot of students historically didn't buy, or they share books, or they buy second-hand books, and so the dollar value, not necessarily the way that we think it is, but it's clearly cheaper to do this for the students than it is to do the other way. But the actual impact of students using this on their actual learning is something that is a future project that we want to do, and the other part that we're trying to move towards is to take the next step, and that is to take the material that we use, because I use the textbook as a starting point, not as an end goal. So to read the textbook, but also read a whole bunch of other things. And because I teach online, I don't lecture online, it's a student-centered online experience. So the next goal that we have is to actually integrate my online learning modules inside the book. So it becomes like a seamless source that the students can go to just the book and then work their way through the parts of the book that we want to have. One last point is I'm more than willing to talk about warts as well as the positive aspects of this. If you have questions during the presentation, that's fine. That have been issues. I mean, we can talk about that too.
Of course, regarding the course, but no, least trying to do a lot of our vision is through some of the tech tools and the way that we're integrating it into Canvas. So I think in our session we're going to talk a little bit about how we're trying to not take his model and scale it via the tools we have available and the way that we can integrate this with the LMS to make it smooth for the students so there's no launching out, everything's kind of living, native, kind of integrated. So I think we'll get into that aspect and kind of a larger, looking at department level sort of initiative too, moving from this step into, we'll show some stats on how many of the political science faculty members are using OpenStax right now, how many are not, what's that conversation look like next month or next semester, and how do we kind of get everyone to like lay the cards on the table and make some smart decisions about not only cost, but moving some of these metrics with students.